Hi, guys, and welcome to the virtual book club. We're about to get ready to get started. 2 weeks ago, we listened to chapter 7 of Raising Emotionally Strong Boys. Today, we're going to listen to chapter 8. So, let's get started. Make sure you guys take your notes and let us know your thoughts and opinions on the chapter that we're about to read. Okay, and now I'm gonna be quiet.
Chapter 8, Upward and Outward. By now you've likely discovered my appreciation for cross-country running. I love the sport for 1,000 reasons. It teaches endurance and persistence. You are a part of a team and also setting individual goals. It allows for endless hours in nature. And it is, in my mind, a great metaphor for life. Life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a long, enduring run full of highs and lows, losses and victories. All 3 of my kids ran cross country during high school. My daughter came home junior year after a brutal practice and shared an amazing insight from her coach. On this particular day, they were training on hills. The heat was suffocating and everyone was running low on endurance. Her coach challenged the team with a practice for the worst moments of the uphill climb. When your mind is locked into the pain and anguish of the uphill climb, and it's hard to imagine pushing through, turn your attention outward. Start cheering for a teammate. I loved her words. I love this challenge. She wasn't pretending this would take away the discomfort. It would simply redirect it into some kind of purpose. Her coach knew the wisdom of attention. We can't give 100% of our attention to the discomfort if we're turning it toward cheering on a friend. I believe this outward movement is not only a strategy for running, but wisdom for life. I believe it's within our calling as believers to love God and love others. We want to always be turning our attention upward and outward. The practice beckons back to the definition of resourcefulness we discussed early on in this book, taking the emotion to something constructive. As we consider this, it's of great importance to dissect the meaning. On the surface, this could look like avoidance or denial, pretending the discomfort isn't there and acting accordingly. That's not at all what my daughter's coach was communicating, and not what I'm recommending. The first third of this book is devoted to the strength of emotion, understanding my own and leaning into the emotions of others. Dr. Susan David, a Harvard Medical School psychologist, has done extensive research on emotional agility, or the skills of being healthy with self and others. Dr. David believes our emotions signpost the things we care about and the things we need. As we've already discussed, they aren't good or bad. They are simply signaling us to a need. Once we acknowledge the need, we can attend to it. Emotional agility means I use my feelings to guide me in my values. My core value as a person of faith is to move upward and outward, to love God and others. This value is what guided my daughter's coach to recommend moving the discomfort toward purpose. This coach wisely knew the satisfaction that would come from championing teammates in the hardest parts of the run. The satisfaction we experience in other-centered living has been biologically and neurologically proven. Having purpose and offering support have a profound impact on our well-being. Research has proven where this can lower levels of the stress hormone cortisol and release more of the feel-good chemicals. For example, one study found that middle school students who mentored younger students, helping them with their study habits, spent more time on their own homework. Finding meaning, discovering purpose, and serving others impacts physical and emotional well-being on many levels. If we stack this data next to the research benefits of having a spiritual life, better health outcomes, less anxiety and depression, improved coping skills, and greater longevity, to name a few, we confirm the benefits of upward and outward movement. As with everything we've discussed, it starts with our own experience so that we can model this consistently for the boys we love and help them develop more in this area. Outward emotionally. As we think about helping boys move outward emotionally, it could be helpful to use a diagram in explaining this concept to them and helping us understand it better ourselves. Feelings, emotional response. We have an experience, and within that, we have feelings about what's happening. We take in those feelings, inward movement, and have an emotional response, outward movement. Remember, feelings are just feelings. They aren't good or bad, right or wrong. They are simply signaling us in some way. What we do with those feelings could be good or bad, right or wrong, healthy or unhealthy. If we can use our top 5 list, there is a great chance the emotional response will be more constructive and helpful. If we release the physicality of the emotion, intensity doesn't build up inside of us. If we do some deep breathing to move the blood flow back to our prefrontal cortex, we can think rationally. We can talk about what's happening rather than saying, I don't know. All of this is healthy outward movement. If we open up rather than shutting down, we set the stage for a constructive emotional response. When boys bottle things up, refuse to go to the space, or won't test drive the top 5 lists, they are simply creating a buildup of inward movement. It's like a volcano, and when there's a buildup of too much hot lava inside, it's going to erupt. Use that analogy of a volcano. You may even want to include it on the diagram. It may be a useful teaching tool for helping boys make connections around inward and outward movement. Another concrete tool can be blowing up a balloon. Pause between breaths and name difficult circumstances that would generate strong feelings. Continue blowing until the balloon is about to pop. Ask boys what they believe will happen if the buildup continues. Talk with boys about how much healthy outward movement happens outdoors. Obviously, many of the top 5 list ideas may involve something outside. Beyond that, discuss all the health benefits of being in nature. Being in nature can lower blood pressure and stress hormone levels, enhance immune system function, increase self-esteem, reduce anxiety, and improve mood. When I sit with parents in a first appointment, I often ask them to talk about what their son is at his best. When is he the most content, the happiest, the most himself? The 2 most common answers I hear are during one-on-one time and when he's outside. I believe most boys are capable of being their best selves when playing outdoors, whether it's imaginative play, explorative play, or athletic play. When he's moving, exploring, and experiencing nature, it brings out the best in him. Think about how the opposite is true. The majority of conflict I hear parents describe centers around technology. Battles erupt over turning off a device, setting limits, respecting limits, or violating limits. Limiting screen time will always be a battle worth fighting when it comes to boys. They desperately need limits in this area, and they always need the benefit of time outdoors. When you take hikes as a family, ride bikes, canoe, kayak, climb, camp, or simply walk around the block with your family dog, talk about how different you feel at the close of that time. I've never been emotionally charged, taken a walk, and then felt worse. I always feel better, more settled, more regulated, more integrated. Some of the richest conversations with my kids have happened while walking in our neighborhood. I've purposefully had some of the hardest conversations with them while walking. Keep going back to how well side-by-side conversations work compared to eye-to-eye. All of these ideas fit within this category of outward movement. Outward relationally. We have a park next to our office, and there's a loop around the park that's ideal for walking the therapy dogs we use in our practice. I've had some rich conversations with boys walking that loop. I'm convinced they are unaware how often they disclose things they may not have intended to share as openly on those walks. The movement is settling and creates more space for good conversation. I think it's important for boys to understand the statistics that men are more reluctant to openly discuss their health, physical or mental health. The tendency to isolate versus reach out is great in males, and the earlier we educate boys on this inward movement, the better. The same diagram could be helpful in thinking strategically about the outward movement toward relationships. Go back to the brainstorming we did on identifying allies in the previous chapters. One practice I often recommend to parents is to purchase a journal and write back and forth with their son. You can even use some of the journaling prompts recommended for him in earlier chapters as a jumping off point to begin this practice, where you both answer the same question or finish the same sentence. I've encouraged parents of young boys to try a concrete experiment to help their sons make connections regarding the importance of this outward relational movement. I'll have them pack a backpack full of books. Sure, the backpack is heavy. Have your son put on the backpack and ask him what it feels like to carry that much weight around. Some conversation starters or questions, and with each answer, remove one book. Have boys try the backpack on at different intervals to highlight the benefits of a little sharing, a lot of sharing, and unloading everything you are carrying. Talk with boys about the backpack experiment being an example of carrying around all your feelings or thoughts alone and the difference it makes to unload those with a trusted person in your life. Discuss how our hearts get tired when we bottle up our feelings. Our brains get tired when we carry around all those thoughts without releasing them in a safe relationship. Also recommend, when the backpack is still somewhat full, having him turn it around and wear it on the front. Use that as an illustration for how much harder it is to get close to people when we are carrying all that extra baggage. It not only weighs us down, it stands in the way of our connections and relationships. Basically, it gets in the way on so many levels. On that note of thoughts and feelings, it's worth mentioning that over time, emotions have become gendered. We often talk with girls about how they feel and with boys about what they did. In doing so, we are not only missing an opportunity for boys to develop an emotional vocabulary, but in some ways communicating they don't have emotions. It's okay to ask him questions about how he spent the day and what he did, but be sure to ask how he felt about the events as well. Use the feelings chart to turn fill in the blank into multiple choice. Doing so will not only strengthen the emotional muscles, but build familiarity in sharing about his internal world within safe relationships. I once spoke to a group of professional men who were part of a forum. These men were all executives and heads of corporations or companies. They'd met through membership in a national organization and committed to meeting together on a monthly basis. These men clearly faced unique challenges in managing organizations and all the personal and professional challenges that would come with being the person at the top. I thought their commitment to meeting together was admirable, wise, and one of the best investments they could make in their work, marriages, and parenting. They began every meeting by talking openly about their marriages and parenting. They would identify struggles they were facing and practices they were inhabiting. They shared books, podcasts, counsel referrals, and a range of other resources in an effort to support each other in sustaining those priority relationships. They purposefully set aside a designated amount of time specific to this part of their forum meetings. It came first as a way of communicating its priority and making sure it was never bumped from the agenda. Then and only then would they move into talking about the challenges they were facing and the growth they were experiencing in the workplace. The forum meetings often included education. They asked me to come and speak about parenting, and more specifically about their role as fathers. I began my talk by affirming what they were doing and reminding them how rare the community they built was among men in this world. I went on to say their model was something men's groups and churches could really learn from. Not only were they prioritizing their personal lives above their professional lives, but they were prioritizing and practicing sharing on an honest level what they were facing as husbands and fathers. As if that weren't significant enough, I highlighted the fact that bringing me in to speak was evidence of a desire to grow and learn, something every one of us should continue throughout development. We shouldn't stop being students simply because we finish our formal schooling experience. There is always more to learn. The outward relational movement we are highlighting is one of the most extraordinary contexts for growth. Outward spiritually. These wise men were modeling something else I wish every boy could see. By meeting and sharing together, they were confirming their need to be together. These men were pushing against the statistics about men not reaching out for help. Despite being highly successful vocationally, and for most of them at the top of their game, they were quick to acknowledge their need for each other. Few men are comfortable acknowledging this need. I've long experienced that some of the healthiest parents I work with are those in recovery. When you've worked the 12 steps, you understand the importance of identifying your need for God and others. It's foundational to recovery work. You have come to a place of admitting you are powerless, and the only way forward is in asking for help. That's the beauty of attending recovery meetings. It's the ongoing, consistent practice of coming together in safe community and acknowledging your need. Though Scripture is incredibly clear in God asking us to come to Him when we are weary and burdened, helpless and in need, we struggle with doing so as males. The invitation is clear, but the practice is difficult. Until we learn to pray with honesty, speak with honesty, and act with honesty, we will continue to rely on our own strength. Relying on our own strength and posturing as competent will always serve as a barrier to our need for Jesus. We simply cannot be independent and dependent at the same time. It seems important to acknowledge how contradictory this way of being in the world is to the common phrase, man up. I think about how often males speak and hear those words. If you really think about it, the message there is to stop feeling, start doing, and take care of things on your own. The message burdens males with a need to carry everything on their own and not need help. Not help from God or help from others. I believe the opposite to be true. We are fully masculine when we feel deeply, grieve deeply, and connect with our longings. We are our best selves when we acknowledge our need for God and others. I'd encourage you to dissect the phrase man up on your own and with the boys in your care. Talk about what it most often means and how harmful the message is and how contradictory to the wisdom of Scripture. Discuss the likelihood that phrase has impacted the scary statistics regarding men's well-being. Use this as a jumping off point for delving into upward and outward living. At my home church in Nashville, we end every service with a benediction. Our pastor explains the benediction as a blessing. He speaks Scripture over us as a blessing before we go back out into the world. He asks that we hold our palms up when we receive the benediction. Something about this posture is meant to remind us of our need for the blessing. It's also meant to remind us of what we bring to the spiritual equation. I bring nothing, and Jesus brings everything. I need everything He has for me, and standing with my palms open is a reminder of that each week. I've learned I need the reminder more than once a week. Therefore, I pray each morning with my palms open. Sitting in this position has anchored me to this daily reminder. I've come to notice that when my palms are open, my head seems to be facing upward more than in a bowed position. That may seem trivial to you, but for me it's important. As a man, I've come to realize how much time I spend worrying over things in a way that assumes they are solely in my control. Despite everything I know to be true and everything I believe about who God is and who I am in Him, I can live less like a son of the King and more like an abandoned orphan. I operate as if I'm solely responsible for providing for my family, and I have to do it on my own. Looking upward reminds me that I have an inheritance. It also reminds me that I have a calling on my life. As my friends Jay and Catherine Wolf spoke over their sons, God made you to do the hard things in the good story He's writing for your life. God made me to do hard things in the good story. I cannot do those hard things apart from His power and strength. I can't look outward effectively unless I first look upward. I believe every boy needs those words spoken over him. He needs to know he is capable of hard things and he was made for good work. Purpose and meaning are hardwired into who we are as human beings. I believe males are at their very best when they are intersecting with purpose. Boys tap into who they were made to be and a healthy sense of power and strength when they encounter purpose. The boys I've seen struggle the most in 25 years of doing this work are boys void of purpose. Even boys who have access to incredible resources, if they are lacking in purpose, they can get lost. I believe it's why Mr. Rogers' mother challenged him to look for the helpers when he saw scary things on the news. It anchored him not only to a sense of hope, but also to meaning and purpose. He could point at people doing hard things in the good story, and seeing that somehow calls a person to meaning and purpose. When we believe we can help someone, we help ourselves. When boys can move outward with purpose, they tap into more of who they were made to be. It could be tutoring a classmate in a subject he's skilled in, or helping coach a younger sibling soccer team, taking cookies to an elderly neighbor, or making a card for a relative who is sick, volunteering at a local animal shelter, or building a habitat house, having a part-time job, or interning at a nonprofit. All of these opportunities connect him to the healthy outward movement toward purpose. He's not only looking for the helpers, he is becoming one. Watch for where you can help him make connections. Frederick Buechner wrote, "The place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet." Boys need support in discerning that place. Our emotions can help signpost us to this place. I believe anger is foundational to moral courage. If you feel anger as you watch the news, allow that emotion to move you toward justice and mercy in this world. It's signaling you to where you value equity in the world. When we feel anger, we are more likely to use our voice against the wrongs of this world. How could you take steps toward that? How could you help your son tap into where his values are being exposed through his emotions? Isn't that a different way to see and experience anger? And what about sadness? I lost my mother to cancer several years ago, and I felt overwhelming amounts of sadness in the wake of that loss. The sadness reminds me she was one of the most important people in my world, and cues me to remember her aloud and let those feelings rise to the surface. Sadness is a part of the grief process. Stopping the sadness would roadblock the grief process. That process is vital to my healing. Losing my mother has made me a different kind of friend as I walk with others who are losing a parent. I'm more attuned, more compassionate than I've ever been. It has moved me into inviting others to share memories and stories. It has carved out a deeper place of empathy in me and allowed me to move into more pain and loss with people who are suffering. Richard Rohr said, "If we do not transform our pain, we will most assuredly transmit it." Or as the famous saying goes, hurt people hurt people. According to the statistics shared early in this book, males are the most vulnerable to hurting people with their own hurt. I believe males are causing so much pain through addiction, infidelity, suicide, and other harming behaviors, primarily because they are in pain. Pain that could be alleviated through outward and upward movement. Boys need to know that their pain can be transformed into something. They need to know that they can take the emotion to something constructive. They can't do that unless they know what the emotion is and learn to pay attention to it and move towards something useful. They need to see evidence in the adults around them of how to move the emotion outward and upward. Emotions signpost the things we care about and need. Emotions aren't to be feared, but understood. They aren't to be avoided, but accepted. They are part of how God made us. They are one of the ways He allows us to connect with our need for Him and others. Our job is to identify the balance of inward and outward movement. The outward movement is what connects us more to purpose and meaning in this world. It's what allows us to do hard things in the good story and to offer hope to a hurting world. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. Romans chapter 5, verses 13, ESV. Intentional practices. 1. Use the included PDFs in this chapter to help boys make some connections between inward and outward movement. Have them give examples of each as a way of gauging their understanding of the concepts. You can share a personal example as well. 2. Outward context. Identify 3 contexts for movement and conversation: hiking, bike riding, walking the dog, etc. That would invite space for better conversation. 3. Journaling. Consider back and forth journaling with questions or prompts as a way to help him articulate some things that may be harder to access. You can do this through pictures with boys who are too young to write. 4. The backpack experiment. Follow the instructions for the stages of the backpack experiment to help boys have a concrete experience of what carrying thoughts, emotions, and experiences feels like, and how it serves as a barrier in relationships. 5. Finding purpose. Read the Buechner quote to him and talk about what it means. Help him begin to make connections to how God will place particular burdens and needs inside of him as a way of leading him to his calling. Help him identify one of those now and how he could turn that need into purpose. Share a personal example from your own life through work, volunteering, or service. Chapter 9. Habits and
Alrighty. So what do we think about chapter 8?
I love it. What about you?
Yes, I do. Loved it. It was good. It was good. Okay, so the first thing I have is moving your focus. I don't know word for word what I can't say it verbatim, but basically, like, instead of thinking about your demise, I would say, or what you're going through in the moment, focusing on cheering on your teammate or somebody else around you to help move your focus, and so you're always looking upward. That was really good. I really like that.
Yes.
I really like that. Teaching others. I like that one too, and I've heard that one a lot in different phrases. And basically how much it helps you learn when you're able to teach it to the next person, and how you're still learning, and the information sticks more when you're able to teach the next person. You could jump in. You could go back and forth.
Awesome. I like the way it talked about the emotional response. That feelings are just feelings. They're not right or wrong. I think that's so huge because sometimes we all get caught up in, was I right about this feeling? Was I wrong? And I love the way that they emphasize that feelings are just feelings,
Mhm.
period.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like that too. Yeah. And also emphasizing on it's what we do with the feelings that could be good, bad, or
Yes.
indifferent. Because even though we having a feeling, don't mean we can just act a certain way. We gotta learn how to
Correct.
process those the right way. But our feelings are not good or bad, but our actions
Right.
could be good or bad if we're not doing what we need to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The reaction is very important. I also like the way because sometimes we feel feelings and don't know what to do with them.
Mhm.
So I like the way they broke down how to first identify them and then what to do, some examples of what to do to release them.
Mhm.
The fact that we can't keep them bottled up or that could turn into something not good.
Mhm.
Um,
Building up
so
and
the,
shutting down
yes,
and bottling up. That was
yes.
really good. I think that's
Yes.
like, yeah, that was real good. That spoke. That
That's
spoke to
the
me.
negative side of it. But if we learn to release some deep breathing, I had
Mhm.
never heard of blow up a balloon until it's
Mhm.
almost about to pop, but I can see how that can refocus you.
Mhm.
And those are more healthy outward emotional movement, which is huge because if the parents or adults don't know what to tell the child to do in the time, they could even get upset. So having
Mhm.
some type of examples was important. So I like the way they talked about that.
Mhm. And outdoors is a real big one for everybody. Everybody needs to go touch grass and go outside and just feel the sun. For so many different things, but the fact that it can actually, have a positive benefits on our moods and
Yes.
feelings is it says a lot about what being outdoors really does for us.
Yes. I agree with the fact that I've never felt one way, took a walk, and still felt that way.
Hmm.
Like there's some type of level of release or difference that happens. So I agree with what the book said at that time.
Yeah.
They also talked about discuss the health benefits of being outside.
Hmm.
And I like that they say that. That way we're not just telling the child, teenager, or whatever
Hmm.
what to do, but more explaining why
Hmm.
we do it. So
Hmm.
that's huge. Yeah.
I'm gonna jump a little bit because of how I wrote my notes, but I like
Mm-hmm.
how you talked about the backpack experiment and what it reminded me
Yes.
of is the song "Bag Lady."
Oh, yes. Yes. Yep. Perfect.
And I
Very
can
good.
personally relate to that because I be carrying around like a whole bunch of bags and stuff that I really need to put down. But yeah, the backpack experiment, it made me think of the bag lady in the song and just like how you cannot carry all that stuff. You're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna hurt yourself.
Bag lady, you
Yeah.
gonna hurt your back. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Carrying all that stuff. Yeah, and they also said turn it around to the front
Mhm.
so that the child or person, because I love that this book covers all,
Yeah.
will see physically how it interrupts or puts distance in between getting close to someone.
Mhm. And it is.
Yeah. Again, that very new stuff, but very much can be used at any time.
Anytime, any age. All I like how he talked about that in his book too. I didn't get
Yeah.
to take notes, but when he was talking about him and they have a certain meeting and the first thing they go off about, I believe, was like their emotions. Did you get any notes on
Yeah.
that?
Not
To show how they
specifically the meeting,
prioritize it.
but at least having the emotional vocabulary.
Mhm.
A lot of times I heard him say that for men and boys, we ask what did they do instead of how did they feel,
Mhm.
and which is such misinformation.
Mhm.
The man's man and all that type of stuff, where you never really ask how a person feels, as if men or boys don't have feelings at all, which they honestly do. We all do. That's a human trait, not a female male trait. So I did realize that having that emotional vocabulary and teaching that is very big.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The statement always more to learn. You know, it's always. I don't think it's ever going to be an age where it's nothing that you can always be teachable. All of that, the different
Yeah.
people go with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
I also talked about sometimes we get into a mode, even the child, that they and or adult, that they are doing this alone and there's nothing else out there to help them. And the reminder, because he always goes to scripture, which I really like, that, you know, God is not necessarily that I am the only one that has to hold this weight. And he also talked about holding your palms up, you know, in prayer, so that you can receive something, and how when he holds his palms up, he holds his head up. And I liked it that. Yeah. Yeah.
Back to the backpack experiment, how he was saying,
Yeah.
demonstrate how as you talk about things, you take some books out the backpack, letting them know like it gets lighter when you lean on,
Yes.
you know, healthy
A
people.
trusted person.
Yeah,
Yes.
trusted person.
Absolutely. No, that was
Gotta be the
real
right
good.
type of person.
He did emphasize trusted. Trusted person. I also like the way he said, look for helpers, you know, kind of to help us focus on different things. And in turn, while you're looking for helpers, you may end up helping, becoming a helper. Which, like you said, each one teach one type
Pay it forward.
situation.
I really like
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you get a lot out of that. The big thing that I heard that I never really paid attention to before is that they said a lot of boys do not have like direct purpose, and if they don't, they could get lost. So finding that thing where your gladness and the hunger meet each other
Okay,
is
let me
where
write
your purpose is.
gladness and hunger.
Yeah, where they meet. Like I think his example was watching news, and maybe you get
Oh yeah.
not so good feeling or angry
Right.
feeling. Well, let that be your fire to, you know, do something.
Yes. Having moral,
Yeah. So
moral courage.
yeah. Yes.
Using your voice against the wrong in the world. I like that because you know I've been having
Yeah.
some different things that been having me really angry, and like using that
Yes.
to speak out on
Fuel.
advocacy.
Absolutely. Use it as fuel instead of something that
Negative,
hurts
yeah.
the individual. It could actually be used as fuel to do something different and voice something different. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wrote.
Go ahead. I'm excited.
Me too. I wrote changing the look on emotions when he was talking about anger,
Yes.
and then also sadness. Stopping the sadness can be a roadblock, and how
Yes.
it goes back to the pay it forward. Like because he was letting himself go through the emotions of losing his mother, he was able to help other people around him that went through grieving, and he learned a lot of
Yes.
things while going through that. So changing that, like you know, anger and sad is not negative. You know, feelings are not bad, and processing them, you know, will help you get through, and you can also help the next person that's going through this that you've been through. So I like
Yes. So it's never for nothing. It's
Right.
not for nothing. It always can be turned around to some good if we choose to. Bouncing off of that, he talked about just not getting stuck in any phase of grief. You know, feeling the feelings. You know, we know that there's anger and sadness and remorse and guilt and different things that are associated. And then there's hope with guilt, but not getting stuck in the negative portion of it, but keep moving forward and release, because if we don't release, we have a chance to specifically he said, and this was powerful to me, if you don't transform the pain, you will transmit it. And I was like, whoa. And he used the example, hurt people, you know. So we really do. A lot of people are walking around, you know, with hurt, you know, and not knowing what to do with it. And it's contagious almost. They'll get with people and spill over their hurt with them, you know. So, yeah, this was good. Outward movement, so important. So this is really good. I appreciate it.
To jump back again about limiting screen time for kids, really making sure they get outside. And also,
I heard that too.
The high rate of boys and being in isolation. Making sure, you know, they don't get stuck in that.
Some type of balance.
The phrase "man up."
How misinformation is passed on from generation to generation, and friends and different things like that. Like, what is this man up thing? You know, like they don't have emotions. They absolutely
gotta stop their feelings right then and there. And that's not what it's supposed to be.
Truly going against what is taught so often. Truly going against the fact that, you know, you can't deal in your feelings and all of that. The truth is, when you get into friendships, any type of relationships, which mean social relationships, you're going to have, you know, some feelings, and you need to know what to do with them, period.
Having the language, the vocabulary, everything. And I feel like this book really just gives all of that information. Like, even though it's for raising boys, like, you know, it's still men and women that still are in their inner child to have some things they got to still be raised on. I really feel like this book is like for everybody. It's a really
very powerful. The title doesn't distract from it covering something from many people, many ages, many generations.
Also the journaling back and forth with I think I'm gonna try that. I'm not sure how to really implicate that with like toddlers, or like what's a replacement, or you know, how can I enter
for a journal? What about voice text? They know how to talk. If they know how to talk at certain ages, maybe you can go back and forth with like voice text, and it's kind of private in a sense. If they step off and have a private room or area that they can go to, maybe they can send that just to vent it out, you know, without disrupting like the household or the situation. So I think that's good for some ages.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's good.
As much as these kids know technology now, that's not a bad thing.
So again, we're listening to Raising Emotionally Strong Boys. We will be back next Thursday to do chapter 9. So have any more?
How many more chapters do we have?
Let me look. I think we're close to the end, so we're gonna have to see what our next book is gonna be for our book club.
Sure.
Actually,
if you have any ideas, please include some. It does not have to be one specific type of book. We're open to many.
Yes. So we got chapter 9. Oops, sorry, that's the speaker. We got chapter 9 next week, and then the following week is a conclusion chapter, and then so we gotta.
Oh wow, we're doing good. We made it. Yay! Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I get so much out of this when we are able to attend, and I write my notes. And so writing notes allows you to be able to look back and check into it. So that's always a positive.
Yes, I recommend taking notes and joining the conversation. So
please join the conversation.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Learn from each other.
Raising emotionally strong boys. Absolutely. Yep.
It's by David Thomas. If you guys want to look into it, if anybody want to look into it, or you can look back next week for chapter 9. And thanks for joining.
Come on back. Have a great night. See you soon. Talk to you sooner.
Bye. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.